Well, thanks for staying with us here on Sunrise Live on E on this Hope Day Wednesday. Of course, we're having an intense conversation in studio currently, right now, with the Department of Basic Education Florence. Now, the Department of Basic Education is said to be considering dropping pass marks for grade 10 and 11. Among subjects that are in the pipeline to drop the pass marks include home languages as well as mathematics. So, to talk more about the issue, which is seen to have South Africans talking, we are joined in studio by the Chief Education Specialist for Curriculum Policy from the Department of Basic Education, that is Florence Modiba. Now, of course, you can be part of our conversation this morning. If you are unclear about certain terminologies, if you're unclear about certain policy recommendations, 011-447-1742 or 1620, that is the number to dial. Alternatively, you can feel free to leave your comments on our Facebook as well as our Twitter pages. Thank you so much for joining us this morning, Florence.
Thank you, Faith.
Now, when we're looking at, and this is beautiful because me and you were having this intense conversation off air about education. So I can only imagine what a parent must be having a conversation about when it comes to these various proposals. So take me through this, because when the department put forward the proposal to reduce the pass mark for home language in the senior phase, that's grades 7, 8 and 9, and then wanting to also drop mathematics as a compulsory promotion requirement in that phase as well, we saw the little bit of it in the media, right? So we didn't have the full scope. Please tell us the thinking, or the thinking behind the proposal, rather.
Thank you, Faith, and good morning to the viewers. Maybe, Faith, we should start by saying that the proposal is correct to say that there is that proposal. Yeah. But it is wrong to say the department is reducing the pass rate. The proposal exists, Faith, and what the proposal says is that we currently having the promotion requirements in the senior phase, which are not aligned to the FET phase, which is your grade 10, 11 and 12. What the department is saying is, let's have a proposal that will look into aligning the two requirements in both the senior phase and the FET, because the senior phase is a feeder to the FET. And with the FET is an exit qualification or a benchmark that we use in the country currently to actually gauge our performance.
I see. So what you're doing is that, because me and you are going to have proper layman's terms conversations here for all of our viewers and all parents there. You're saying in grade 10, 11, 12, right? They've got home language is the pass mark, or the minimum requirement is about 40%.
Yes.
Right? So then when you've got it and you have to align it with grade 7, 8 and 9, which then you're just bringing it together so that it doesn't, when one side it's 15, then you go to the next side where it's just 40. So you're aligning it so that its minimum is 40.
Yes.
Okay. So now when we're looking at the compulsory, or the proposal to drop mathematics as a compulsory requirement, why is that?
Faith, if I could take the viewers back, is that before 2014, because these promotion requirements came as a result of a review that happened in 2009. Yeah. So after the review, the Ministerial Committee recommended a number of changes to the curriculum, including the promotion requirements. So one of the things was to lift the promotion requirements in the senior phase in preparation for the FET. And in doing so, one of the things that they did was to actually say mathematics is a compulsory pass requirement in the senior phase, which in a layman's language will say a learner can pass all other 8 subjects because they're offering 9 and fail mathematics, and that learner will repeat the grade. But what happens is that when that learner moves to grade 10, then that learner has got a choice to actually choose between whether he's going to offer mathematics or mathematical literacy. So what we're saying is, Faith, that the intentions were good. The proposal was good, and we've been monitoring the process since 2014. And even in the first month, the results in the June examination of 2014 showed that the learners are actually struggling with the steep requirements that we have actually put. So we've had a number.
The learners are struggling at the senior phase,
at the senior phase,
with the steep requirements that you put.
Yes.
Okay, so then that struggle transcends into the FET phase.
It translates into the FET phase.
Okay.
But then it becomes a problem, Faith, if you look into how we're requiring learners to pass in the senior phase, which is not aligned to your exit qualification. So the department is saying, given that we've got a number of challenges, not on maths, not on home language, we just say, let's look into aligning the two. such that because it's a feeder to the FET, let's have the requirements aligned such that we have got the same requirements for both senior phase and FET phase.
So then I'm going to ask the next question, because I'm going to stand here as the person that represents those individuals who've got children or who are thinking of kids or who are in school right now, who, number one, don't understand what you're saying, and number two, who have got some serious concerns, which I'm glad that you're saying that it's at proposal phase, because everybody's doing a freak out right now because of the actual proposal in itself. Many would argue and say, look, this is fantastic, this alignment that is happening with the Department of Basic Education, but it's completely unrealistic to the expectations of universities, as well as when it comes to higher education and training. That, yes, fine, you are wanting to pass and align, and this alignment is fantastic for you guys at basic education level, but come in and filter down to higher education and training, it's a different ballgame for these kids, and almost you're setting them up for failure, because when they have to choose their subject choices when it comes to higher education and training, some of them don't even match up with the points that preparation should have happened at basic level.
Faith, I want us to be realistic in terms of what are the expectations of higher education and what are the expectations of basic education. The basic education sector provides basic education for all learners in the country. But the reality is not every learner who will actually exceed the basic education at the end of grade 12 will move up to higher education or your universities. There are a number of post-school pathways that are available for learners, and setting 50 or 40 does not translate into these learners actually matching the standard of university. Remember, the standards of university need to be higher, because learners who are admitted there, they are doing higher degrees, or they're entering into another level on the NQF level. So we're saying basic education does not promote mediocrity. We're not saying that. We're not dropping standards. We're aligning the requirements.
But if I okay, terminology, and I see you, Mbonge, phoning from KZN, and thank you for that. But when you're saying you're aligning, if I needed 50% to pass last year, and now I need 40% to pass minimum this year, surely that is a 10% that I no longer need at a minimum level.
Faith, we should understand what a minimum is. Remember that with the previously, Faith, I'm not sure at what age did you go to school, but previously you had something like higher grade and standard grade.
That was my generation.
So that is that, okay, I'm glad you understand that. But what we're having now is that we do not have standard grade, we do not have higher grade. What the system is trying to do is to align these promotion requirements. We're giving the minimum, but we're keeping the maximum. So we actually say the system should afford everybody an opportunity to participate. Because if you've got learners who are struggling to perform at the senior phase and you're keeping them because of mathematics, what happens is that they will create a bottleneck at the end of grade 9, and ultimately they will drop out. You do not want to do that.
Yes, so why is it, or is it true that when it comes to other African countries, our level of education is quite low? Because we have been criticized for our level of education in the country. We need to accept that. And then secondly is the issue of why is it that have we determined where the issue is? Because we still have a big teacher problem in this country, huge.
Faith, I agree with you and with Mbonge from KZN. We have been criticized for producing lower marks. But in the past 5 years, the results of our international tests that we're taking with our learners, I don't have the statistics currently, but have shown an upward mobility in terms of going down. So we have challenges, but the challenge that we have is not because learners are failing, Faith. Viewers should understand it's not about learners failing. It's about retaining the learner because of one subject that when they move to the FET phase, they will not go to offer. It doesn't make academic sense. Our teachers have said to us, can you look into the issue? Because these learners are not only offering home language. They're having home language, they're having first additional language. So the requirements in the senior phase is that they should pass 40. At the minimum, not the maximum, the minimum at 40 with the FAL, and the minimum with the home is 50. But when you go to the FET phase, they are required to pass one language. And with the FET phase, which culminates into the National Senior Certificate, we have our papers and our examination actually quality assured by the examination bodies like your Scottish and your Kenya. We have in them as our counterparts who actually look into our national senior certificate papers to look if we've got comparable standards. Although standards mean different things to different people. But then the problem, Faith, is not that learners are failing. We are saying, let's look into this proposal. It's not, I hear Mbongo saying the reason for this proposal is because was to lower the pass rate. It hasn't been lowered. This is a proposal that is at the inception stage, which is still going to go out for public comments, and we have actually started engaging with our counterparts, with our teacher unions, and people are saying, okay, if you're going to do that, let's look into how we strengthen the issue of mathematics.
And the reason why we're having this conversation, Florence, is not so that we can get the terminology right, but so that South Africans can understand what the thinking was behind. Because when you're hearing these callers are basically saying to the Department of Basic Education that we're tired of our level of education being deemed as low. Because these are the very same, there are 2 million young people currently that are not educated, that are not employed, that are not trained. 2 million in this country. Do you understand why is it that parents will be concerned by even the mere fact that this proposal has come forward?
Faith, we have been criticized in the past that when learners start in grade 1, for example, we register about 1 million learners. But when they exit, we have about 400,000 or 500,000. What happened to the 500,000? Faith, if you're looking into how, because these things are not done out of the world that exists amongst us. We have the Sustainable Development Goals, which replace the Millennium Development Goals. And as part of the signatories, we have to respond to the issues that have been said in the SDGs. And one of the issues that came out strongly is the issue of inclusivity. Not inclusive education, but inclusivity in the education sector. And what it says is that, given that there are learners who will not necessarily proceed to higher education, how do you deal with these learners who will not want to go to university, will not want to go to University of Technology, but would like to offer some kind of a post-school pathway? The department has responded to that. And from 2016, we have started implementing the technology subject with specialization to create a technical pathway. And currently, we're piloting the skills and vocational pathway for the learners who will exit in grade 9, who will not want to go to university.